Hello, good afternoon. Our company is IMTCMEI, and our company is basically doing the infrastructure construction in Ukraine for the Euro Cup of 2012. My name is Renat.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Hoda.
I'm Joe.
Joshua.
Just for a brief company overview, we are headquartered in Houston, Texas, and we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Crown Enterprises, and that's based in Louisiana. We offer the services of construction, project controls, and program management. We have been in Ukraine since May 2008 when we established a regional office in Kyiv. We've also been a part of the U.S.-Ukraine Business Council since the same time. We have minimal American staff. Pretty much our key decision maker, Dr. Sean Reagan, is the only American staff. The rest is all local to the region, and they have over 100 years experience combined in the construction and program management services. And they also have experience working with the larger European institutions. For a closer look at our services, first is construction, and that includes capital construction. Infrastructure will be big with our project in Ukraine. Catastrophic rebuild, structural installation, mechanical installation, and procurement. Next, for project controls, those are the processes of designing, scheduling, cost controls, and performance measures used throughout the projects. Next, for program management, we use the project controls, and then we add consulting and training, and that just develops the whole project completion to reach all of our targets at all levels. And as Renat said, our project is going to be based around the UEFA Euro Cup in 2012, and that's being jointly co-hosted by Ukraine and Poland. There will be 31 matches in 28 days split between two countries. Ukraine will be hosting matches in 6 cities. 2 are backups, Odessa and Kharkiv. The rest are Kyiv, Lviv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Donetsk. Obviously, the Euro Cup has huge implications for IMTC. It's requiring a large infrastructure build-up and modernization in Ukraine. And because of this, it's a large world-class event. It's the 3rd largest sporting event in the world. So it's going to be high visibility. Lots of investors are going to be interested in working with the projects. In this way, Ukraine can build up their infrastructure, and IMTC can take advantage of this and their position already in the Ukrainian market, as well as their strong service offerings, and grow into the industry.
As you can see, this is a map of Ukraine as part of the USSR. In order to understand Ukraine's present state, you really have to understand its connection to the USSR since it was such a recent part of its past. Ukraine gained independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, and because of the tumultuous relationship it had with it, with the USSR, it really struggled to form an identity as a new nation and try to disassociate from Russia. Right after independence, it had a rough transition period into a parliamentary democracy and an 8-year recession in its economy. And this was mostly due because of high levels of government corruption, as well as an inefficient regulatory framework and turbulent political economic path, which all contributes to its high country risk status. Currently, Ukraine is recovering with a rising GDP of 8% annually. And so hosting the UEFA 2012 is really going to put it on the map as a global contender, as well as make it an attractive emerging market for investors. Prior to independence, Ukraine and Russia had a shared natural culture of collectivism, masculinity, high uncertainty avoidance, and high power distance. But it's really difficult to apply those to Ukraine right now because it's tried so hard to shape itself as a separate nation. So the Engelhardt-Welzel cultural map of the world kind of describes Ukraine's position culturally a little bit better. On the y-axis is traditional values and secular rational values, and on the x-axis is survival values and self-expression values. And you can see for the smiley faces up there, Ukraine scores at about a 0.3 in the secular rational area, which means that it is a little bit more, it's a little less traditional with its values, and it's a little bit more modern, contemporary in that way. However, it's really based on survival values, which means that it's not very affluent, and it doesn't really have a lot of emphasis on self-expression and well-being and that kind of stuff. The UEFA 2012 is really going to stimulate economic modernization, especially in infrastructure in Ukraine, and it's even being talked about now. UK's all-party parliamentary group stated that hosting Euro 2012 was a perfect opportunity for Ukraine to attract investments both for the tournament and for the sustainable infrastructure needed to support the long-term transformation of the Ukrainian economy.
As I mentioned before, the UEFA pretty much mandates that there's an infrastructure buildup. And in the areas that we're looking at are airports, roadways, railways, accommodations, and stadiums. So for the first, in airports, basically the host cities have 7 of the 8 strategic airports that are in Ukraine. The status right now of airports is pretty low. Only 244 of the 437 runways in the country, this is a 2007 estimate, are unpaved. Pretty much all the airports were constructed during the Soviet era, so their levels of technology and improvement are pretty much back at the mid and early 90s. And another important note for the tournament is that pretty much all the airports lack the ability to have a large traffic inflow. Next for roadways, they're in better shape. Most of them are paved. For the tournament, all the roadways in between the host cities as well as with the Polish border need to have a state level importance. In order to be ready for 2012, 537 kilometers are going to be built and 1,050 kilometers of roadways will be renovated. For railways, they are pretty much the critical transportation method domestically and internationally. However, right now, all the rails in the country are on the broad Soviet gauge. So to be connected with the rest of Europe and have huge implications for trade, a switch to the smaller European gauge would be a great opportunity for perhaps IMTC to look into and for the build-up of infrastructure in Ukraine.